So when you imagine tornadoes, you mostly imagine this area right here in the U.S., the rural area, all the way from North Dakota up there, up to Canada up here, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and even to here. However, most people are unaware that tornadoes can also hit this part right here, the Great Rocky Mountains. Yep, you heard me right. Tornadoes can hit the mountains. Now, to those who are associating researching tornadoes like me, you already know that tornadoes can even hit the Appalachians. However, what most people don't know is that tornadoes don't care about where they hit. You can have a tornado in the mountains. You can have a tornado in the plains. You can have a tornado crossing a river. However, one of the states that is really not recognized for tornado activity is the U.S. state of Wyoming, the least populated state. Now, when we look at the map of these tornadoes right here, Wyoming has seen 747 tornadoes with 4 fatalities and 115 injuries, which is not much considering this area right here sees the most deadly activity. However, Wyoming does see occasional strong tornadoes. The most prolific year for tornadoes that were of EF3 intensity or greater was most likely 2018. That year alone saw 3 EF3 tornadoes striking Wyoming. One of the first tornadoes was this one right here, near the town of Gillette on June the 1st, 2018, causing 2 injuries and being rated as EF3. The next tornado, further to the south, impacted, not Cheyenne, not that one, Larry, on June the 6th, 5 days later. This was an extremely photogenic tornado, which produced this tornado right here, which is a satellite. And the other final strong tornado of 2018 that hit Wyoming was this one right here on July the 28th, 2018, in EF3 near the town of Douglas. However, since 1950, the U.S. state of Wyoming has seen 2 violent tornadoes, both of which occurred in 1979. The first one impacted the major city and capital city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the other, and the topic of this video, was a rather forgotten F4 that impacted Yellowstone National Park of all places. Anyways, this is the story of the 1979 Yellowstone National Park F4. So the supercell thunderstorm, or the rotating thunderstorm that eventually produced the historic F4 tornado that impacted Yellowstone National Park, initiated near Salt Lake City, Utah. The supercell became tornadic about 2 miles northeast of Mount Randolph in Teton County, Wyoming, or 45 miles northeast of the town of Jackson, along the Box Creek trailhead. Soon after, it would drop a tornado. The tornado eventually began in a valley 1.9 miles to the northeast of Mount Randolph. Dr. Ted Fujita, founder of the Fujita scale, estimated a tornado initiated at about 1:28 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. The damage path became much wider, more consistent as it approached Gravel Ridge, producing a large area of tree damage to the northeast of that ridge. The tornado appeared to intensify quickly or explosively as the damage it produced increased from F0 to F4 intensity in less than 3.1 miles, an estimate of 3 minutes of travel time. The lone area of F4 rated damage was found north of Gravel Ridge. Based on the small area affected by the worst tree damage, large Angelman spruce trees between 30 to 40 centimeters in diameter, or 12 to 16 inches, were found uprooted and stripped of their bark, with the bare trunks spattered in the wind. Topsoil was also blown away in a phenomenon that's most likely called, or is called, ground scouring. Now, meteorologist Dr. Ted Fujita, the guy that we mentioned before, noted that the only comparable forest damage he had seen associated with an F4 tornado had been in the Appalachian Mountains after the North Carolina tornado that impacted Murphy during the 1974 super outbreak's nocturnal round. The tornado maintained F2 to F3 intensity for the next 6.2 miles, producing a large swath of tree damage. During this period, it approached and crossed directly over Enos Lake in the Bridger Teton National Forest. A small group of 9 campers near Enos Lake reported that they saw no funnel cloud, but that the storm quickly developed and produced a roar so similar to that of a train in the distance. As the tornado passed nearby, it was accompanied by hailstones the size of golf balls. Fujita hypothesized that due to the high elevation of the area and the storm's very low cloud base, no funnel cloud would have been visible, meaning that all they saw was most likely a large black curtain in the distance. The tornado then descended into the Pacific Creek Valley before climbing up to a high plateau at nearly 9,800 feet in elevation. This is where it weakened significantly. It produced more tree damage on the steep slopes until it crossed the Continental Divide, damaging trees at a whopping elevation of 10,070 feet, or more than 3,000 meters. More severe tree damage occurred in several cirques. The tornado then crossed the drainage of Falcon Creek before descending into the Yellowstone River Valley. It would be at this moment where the tornado gradually weakened down into a minimal funnel. The tornado path became more erratic until it disappeared into the valley's far eastern side, with the tornado's time of dissipation calculated to have been at about 1:54 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. In all, the tornado was on the ground for 24.4 miles, or 39.2 kilometers, with an average width of 1.6 miles, meaning this was a large mega wedge. However, this was the average width of the tornado, and the maximum width was calculated to have been at a whopping 2.4 miles. Now, for comparison, I don't mean to be one of those kids that glaze the El Reno tornado, but this tornado was only 0.2 miles smaller than that tornado in 2013 that impacted El Reno, and only 0.1 miles smaller than the Hallam tornado in 2004, which was also a very notorious F4, but because of the damage not it caused in the village of Hallam, but because of its size. Anyways, Fujita estimated that the Yellowstone tornado was on the ground for approximately 26 minutes along its 24-mile long track, with a forward velocity of a rather fast 56 miles per hour. In the aftermath of the storm, no casualties were reported from the tornado, though as many as 12 people were trapped in the backcountry by the storm. Trail maintenance crews and other federal workers labored for weeks after the storm to clear approximately 15 miles of trail blocked by downed trees, and the total cost of the damages to those trees and surrounding areas affected was recorded as $2.5 million in monetary losses. Now, how do we know of this tornado? Well, after the July 23rd report of a massive blowdown in the Teton wilderness by the Forest Service, Dr. Ted Fujita arranged for multiple aerial surveys by a Cessna aircraft of the tornado's damage path. This was the same style aircraft that he used to survey the tornadoes from the 1974 super outbreak. Eventually, Dr. Ted Fujita, the minute he arrived, took an impressive 1,400 photographs that recorded every single damaged tree. The southernmost area of the track was also visited by foot and photographed by Fujita's colleague, Bradley S. Churchill. Anyways, that is the story of the great Teton to Yellowstone National Park tornado. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as I worked pretty hard on it as to bring you this kind of informative content instead of that brain-rotted junk that 5-year-olds post. And if you want to see more like this, feel free to suggest a topic you want to talk about. It can be any natural sensor as long as it is easy to cover, or as long as I have time for it. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for supporting, and bye.